heavy, physical silver striking bare stone. It is the sound of the most infamous transaction in history coming apart. 30 pieces of silver has functioned as the ultimate synonym for treason for 2 millennia. But the Gospel of Matthew treats this transaction as a highly specific chain of events. According to the text, Judas Iscariot watched his own betrayal result in the condemnation of Jesus. Overcome with regret, he returns to the chief priests and elders, offering them the money back and confessing he had betrayed innocent blood. Their response is cold. What is that to us? Judas takes those exactly counted 30 pieces of ancient silver currency and hurls them into the temple sanctuary. He then leaves the grounds and hangs himself. A precise, fixed sum of money, a specific act of throwing, a distinct location inside the temple. Look closely at these variables, and you have to ask whether they are simply chaotic actions from a desperate man, or whether Judas was unknowingly executing a pre-written script. To understand the architecture of the gospel narratives, you have to understand prophetic fulfillment. The writers of the New Testament continually read historical events backward, combing through centuries-old Jewish texts to locate precedents for the events happening around them. If we follow their method and jump back hundreds of years into the Old Testament timeline, we find the book of Zechariah. In chapter 11, the prophet Zechariah describes his deep anger at his people, breaking a staff named graciousness to symbolize a deliberately severed covenant. Speaking to the very people who rejected his spiritual leadership, Zechariah demands his final compensation. He says sarcastically, "If ye think good, give me my hire." In response, the people weigh out his payment. They hand the prophet exactly 30 pieces of silver, a sum designed to be deeply insulting. God then gives Zechariah a heavily ironic instruction regarding this payment. He tells the prophet to take the goodly price that I was prized at and get rid of it. Zechariah carries out the order precisely. He takes the 30 pieces of silver and casts them directly into the treasury, inside the house of the Lord. Zechariah 11 contains 4 highly specific variables: an explicit demand for wages, an insulting sum of spurty silver pieces, the physical act of throwing the money, and a target destination inside the sanctuary. That framework sat dormant for centuries. Now bring those Old Testament variables forward into the 1st century and hold them up against the actions of Judas Iscariot. This diagram compares the texts. Left, Judas asks, "What will you give me?" Right, Zechariah demands his hire. Next, the compensation. Matthew appoints 30 pieces of silver. Zechariah weighs out 30 pieces. Finally, both throw the wages away. Judas casts it in the temple, Zechariah into the house of the Lord. The actions mirror each other because the underlying themes match entirely. Judas turning over innocent blood is the literal physical manifestation of Zechariah snapping the staff of graciousness and severing the covenant. Matthew deliberately structured his historical account to highlight these exact forensic details. He is documenting the evidence to show his readers that the ultimate crime was executing an ancient script. The original followers of Christ watched their spiritual leader get arrested, condemned, and led to his death. In real time, it looked like pure chaos. It looked like a total collapse of everything they had been promised. But by mapping the exact details of the betrayal backward onto the book of Zechariah, early Christians found proof that history had not spiraled out of control. The biblical narrative operates on a vast literary architecture. The darkest, most traumatic events in the timeline are intricately secured to ancient texts. The 30 pieces of silver provide the exact numerical bridge required to link the betrayal back to the broken covenant. They function as a cross-century hyperlink. By tracing the coins from the floor of the temple in Matthew back to the hands of the prophet in Zechariah, the text argues that the end of the story is inextricably bound to its beginning.